Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So today we celebrate Martin Luther King Day and the man who delivered one of the most important and famous speeches in American history. And I quote directly, of course, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." End quote. This is a thought that I would assume all Americans, regardless of race or ethnicity or gender or political party, could agree with, and indeed should agree with. But it is dismaying to me that a growing number of far-left woke progressives, in the name of so-called equity, have attempted to subvert MLK's brilliant statement by moving us towards a society where solving the remnants of racism leads to ever more racism. I'm speaking particularly of critical race theory, which seeks racial divisions and routinely denounces colorblindness as, quote, white supremacy or white privilege, or for that matter, black victimization. These ideas of reverse racism and black victimization and attacks on people with white skin not only run completely against what Reverend King envisioned, it's something that provides the greatest harm to children in school, where unfortunately critical race theory is now being taught by too many left-wing teachers across the country. Now, one of the brightest spots in this story, newly elected Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who Saturday banned CRT in Virginia schools, and all during his campaign insisted that parents run the schools, not boards of education or teachers union, or for that matter, left-wing federal bureaucrats in the D.C. swamp. Good for him, very good for him. And if you step back a moment, as the New York Post editorialized today, the civil rights movement has had many successes since Reverend King's tragic assassination in the late 60s. 2 years ago, when I was in government and rioting broke out across the country and the woke CRT cry of systemic racism reached its zenith, I would try to argue with folks, wait a minute, we just elected an African-American president for 2 terms who garnered 80 million white votes just a few years ago. Critics never had an answer for that, but it's such an important and remarkable fact. And African-Americans routinely serve in cabinet, Supreme Court, the Senate, the House, state legislatures, governors. Our election system undoubtedly could stand some improvements. But in the last 6 or 7 decades, minority progress has been enormous. That is, African-American progress. Civil rights laws were passed in my lifetime that did enormous good. And more good can undoubtedly come to our imperfect institution as long as we invoke some civility in the discussions and some common sense in the solutions. As a young man, I came to believe that civil rights and equality on the basis of merit and character was really a matter of common sense and fairness. American common sense and American fairness. It was the right thing to do. And our great American democracy has been doing it and will do more of it. There are still some rotten apples left, no question about that. There are still pockets of prejudice. But look, where we've come from since Reverend King's speech is right remarkable. Now, you might want to acknowledge, look where we've come from since Abraham Lincoln. And you might want to also acknowledge, look where we've come from since the Declaration of Independence. Some editorialists are saying that today's left would actually oppose Dr. King. Unfortunately, that may be true. But I think this woke CRT racial hatred from a relatively small minority is going to fade away. I don't believe it. Parents are winning in the schools. Police are winning in public safety and security. And I think key points made by Senator Tim Scott about black economic and financial progress are also very important. Following the Trump tax cuts, unemployment fell across the board for all Americans. Importantly, minority unemployment for blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and women fell to record or near record lows. Poverty, especially child poverty, fell to record lows. Underserved minority areas are the biggest beneficiaries of this kind of economic progress. Opportunity zones were successfully set up to use tax incentive in low-income areas, and according to the government accounting office, in 2019 alone, $29 billion of new capital went into these underserved areas. Generational wealth creation, another key point from Senator Tim Scott. Of course, the worst crime is in minority areas, and it is blacks and other minorities who are now in full revolt against these crazy ideas like defunding the police. The sad state of our urban public education systems can be repaired with more and more school choice, whether it's public school choice or private school choice or religious school choice. These policies, all of them, will fulfill the Martin Luther King vision of living in a nation where people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but rather by the content of their character. As an American optimist, I always want to emphasize positive achievements, positive policies, and positive attitudes. I think these crazy woke critical race theory leftists, I think they are the real racists in our society today. And I truly believe their vision will be soundly defeated, while Martin Luther King's will triumph. That's my riff for this evening.